based on the true events surrounding Nicole Brown. This is a depiction of the acts of inflicted on her at the hands of her ex-husband O.J. Simpson before her life was tragically ended. We see images of discrimination happening on the streets. After that, the scene shifts to a lady running in fear in the darkness of the night. As a shady man follows her, she trips and falls, and the scene suddenly cuts to people celebrating a birthday party. Nicole looks at a vehicle parked outside with some worry. It soon drives away, and she joins her friends in a conversation. The waiter Ron comes to them and tells Nicole that if she needs anything, he will be there. In private, Nicole talks to her friend Chris. She is worried about Nicole and wants to know how she is doing. She tells Nicole that her divorce was 2 years ago, and it is time to move on. Nicole wants to do that, but she is afraid that her ex-husband will take her life one day. As the party ends, she says goodbye to Ron and leaves with her children and her friend Faye. While they walk at night, they hear a loud crash. Nicole walks to her vehicle, which has its security alarm blaring. She sees shattered glass on the ground and a stray brick inside the car. Faye tells her she needs to call the cops. The man keeps getting away with these actions, but Nicole states that she cannot, because many of the cops are his friends. We see someone watching them as they talk. Inside Nicole's house, they speak about how miserable her ex-husband is. Nicole says she has been trying to move forward, but he is always there, pulling her back. Yet again, we see someone watching them through the window. Shortly after, they hear a noise outside and come to the window to inspect. They don't see anything out of the ordinary, and soon Faye leaves. In the next scene, it is May 21st, 1994. Nicole jogs outside with Ron. After he leaves, she goes next door and sees a worker in his vehicle. She asks him about her friend Candace and how she's not home. Then she asks if he is available to fix her house. Nicole shows him inside, and he sees the picture of her with her ex-husband. He introduces himself as Glenn, and she gives him her name too. He adds Simpson to the name she tells him, but Nicole claims she is now divorced. She goes to the kitchen to get some juice, and his sudden presence surprises her. She wants to know if he will take the job, and he says it will be easy for him. He could start right away. 3 days later, Nicole talks to her psychiatrist. She tells him she feels anxious, and that OJ did a lot for her family over the years. That is how he draws people in, by being a hero. Her friends told her he molded her into what he wanted, so no one else would take his place. He monitored her life to a high extent, but acted hypocritically by cheating on her. The psychiatrist asks if she thinks OJ loved her. She used to think that, but does not anymore. Nicole was merely an object he could control. When she arrives home, we see a man standing in the driveway as the garage closes. Nicole walks and steps on shattered glass. She enters her house and observes the mess there. The folder for tax returns is empty. The next scene has her yelling into the phone, most likely at OJ, saying she knows it was him. She does not want to involve the police again and tells him to leave her alone before ending the call. The next day, she organizes her place. A ring at the door gets her to go and inspect. While she walks through the house, we see Glenn working along with another man. Ron is there to see her, asking if she wants to go for a jog. At that point, the other man leaves her house and says there should be no more break-ins. Ron questions her about that, and she says things are complicated now. It is better for her that he does not get involved. He responds that he cares about her, and she should not push him away. After that, she returns inside, setting off her new alarm. She calls out to Glenn, and he appears to shut the door. Doing so silences the alarm. She shows dissatisfaction with the complexity of the alarm system, and Glenn goes over the details for her. He tells her to enter a code. While she does, he turns away. He shows her how to get it to sound off again, and instructs her to enter her code to stop it. She enters her code again, and this time Glenn sees her do it. Nicole wants him to take a break, so she speaks for a short time about OJ and how bad he was. He tells her that she can do what she wants now, and that she is strong. At that moment, she wants to pay him, but he stops her and tells her to pay him when he's done. Afterward, Faye comes over. Nicole tells her it is not a good time for her to be there, but her friend hears someone in the house. She starts coming to check on it, yet Nicole prevents her and states that she needs to leave. Faye believes that it's OJ and gives Nicole a hard time for it. Faye says she fell back into his trap before leaving. Nicole goes upstairs and gets into bed with Glenn. At night, Nicole wakes up and finds herself alone. She goes downstairs, where she sees Glenn behaving very oddly. He is talking to himself. She interrupts him, and he starts coming her way slowly. This prompts her to run to the alarm and activate it. Following that, Nicole runs upstairs and locks herself in her room. Glenn stands near the door, claiming he doesn't know what happened to him. He wants to talk about it. Soon enough, he leaves, and Nicole hears the alarm stop. She cautiously comes near the door, and he surprises her by rushing at it and yelling at her. He threatens to take her life before hearing police sirens nearby. In the next scene, the police occupy her house, and she tells one of them about Glenn. All she gives the officer is his first name, because she has no additional details on the man. She also paid him with cash. The officer reminds her that this isn't the first time she has made such a call. He also says that she's the one who invited Glenn inside. He gives her some further advice, and the unit leaves. June 10th arrives, and Nicole shops for clothes with Chris. When she leaves, she looks into a store. She sees a man in the reflection, looking at her. That makes Nicole turn around, but he is no longer there. She becomes anxious and starts walking away. We see him following her. She gets to the center and looks around until she spots the man again, revealing him to be Glenn. So she runs away and gets inside a building, from which she looks down at him. The security officials on the floor reach Nicole to inform her the area is off limits. That prompts her to leave and enter another store. She finds a place to hide, out of Glenn's sight, who continues to search for her. Eventually, he walks away, and she follows him. He gets behind a corner, and when she does too, she runs into Chris and the children. Nicole asks her if she could look after her kids for some time. Chris agrees to it, and Nicole bids farewell to them. She arrives at her neighbor's house. She asks a man if Candace is home, and he tells her she isn't, but he's her brother and Nicole can talk to him. Nicole wants to know if he could tell her anything about the man who painted Candace's house. However, he doesn't know what she's talking about and cannot help her. The man shows her some flyers that display that Candace is missing. The next scene has a lady drinking at a bar. She comes to Glenn, who is sitting there, and calls him Charlie. The next horrifying thing we see is him choking her inside a car. He finishes the job and follows it by spilling gasoline in the car. He sets it on fire. At the other end, Nicole is back at home. The news is blaring on the TV, mentioning a missing lady. Later, Nicole takes a bath. It's dark by the time she gets out. Suddenly, an invisible force knocks her down and drags her. It pulls her on the bed and against the wall. She even gets held at the ceiling for a short time, before falling onto the bed and floor. Nicole crawls into the bathroom. She stands and finds blood on her. Oddly enough, she discovers herself lying in the bathtub, which causes her to awaken from the nightmare. The phone rings, and she answers it. Odd sounds are coming from the other end. They conclude with a voice, eerily saying that it's going to take her life. At her psychiatrist's office, she's asked about her bruises. Nicole assures the psychiatrist that they did not come from OJ. She mentions Glenn, and does not know why she did what she did. She states some possible reasons and realizes she made a mistake. Nicole talks about the night she found him downstairs, and how he looked insane. She goes through the rest of the situation, and believes he is haunting her now. The psychiatrist responds that the incident was a reminder for her to take control of her life. June 12th arrives, and Nicole gets ready in front of the mirror. She is about to leave with her kids when the phone rings. It turns out to be about a tax notice that was faxed to her. Afterward, she sits in the audience at her daughter's play. Everyone seems to be relaxed, but Nicole seems uneasy. When she gets to her car with the kids, OJ shows up and tells her he wants to see the kids before he goes to Chicago. She berates him and mentions the tax notice he sent her. She lets him know he is no longer a part of her family and that he means nothing to her. She drives away, and OJ meets Glenn near his vehicle. He also calls him Charlie. Subsequently, Nicole and Chris sit at a restaurant with the people from the play. Nicole asks her friend to look after her kids if anything happens to her. The statement scares Chris, but she accepts Nicole's request without hesitation. She adds that she loves her and that Nicole is family. When they leave the restaurant, we see OJ watching them from his car. Later, Ron finds Nicole's mother's glasses on the table and gets a good excuse to visit her. At that moment, OJ enters the restaurant, and one of the waiters sees him. He holds Ron back, telling him OJ looks angry. This prompts Ron to leave through the back door. At her house, Nicole watches the news and sees that Candace met her demise, along with other females. The suspect is identified as Glenn Rogers, and Nicole sees his picture on display. She becomes terrified and learns that he is called the Casanova Assassin. She goes into another room and panics. A ring at the door distracts her from her thoughts, and she is glad to see Ron. He delivers the glasses to her, and at that moment, a masked man strikes him down. He stabs Ron many times and follows that by cutting Nicole. A man walking his dog nearby hears something and decides to check on it. He comes to another dog and observes its bloody paw. Cautiously, he approaches to the gate and sees the two bodies lying there. The next day, the police are at the scene of the crime. The corpses of Nicole and Ron are covered up. A black glove also lies nearby, possibly serving as evidence. We see footage of the crime being discussed. OJ gets arrested and puts on the glove in the courtroom, but everyone sees that it does not fit. This causes the jury to announce that OJ is not guilty. The public opinion on the outcome is strongly split among two sides. 1 month later, a man comes up to say he believes his brother, Glenn Rogers, took Nicole's life. The police interrogate him, and he remembers being with Nicole. He states he did not take her life, but Charlie did. Afterward, in an interview with OJ, he talks about being with Charlie that night, and that they went to Nicole's house. He says that things got heated, and Nicole fell. He took the knife from Charlie, but does not remember anything after that. The final scene has Glenn sitting inside his prison cell, talking to someone who isn't there. He seems to have finally lost his grasp on sanity.